Teresa, what a week. We're approaching quickly the middle of March, the Ides of March. And that means that although energy prices tend to drop at this time of year before we start introducing summer blends of gasoline, that happens on the 15th of April, we do start to see prices move back up. But this week it's been pretty quiet. If nothing else, prices have dropped, whether you happen to be in Vancouver, where it's come down a couple pennies, or British Columbia, down into the 170, 165 range. Vancouver, of course, remaining at $1.82 to $1.83. Alberta, much of it is $1.33 to $1.38. Saskatchewan never moves, holds at about $1.48 on average. Manitoba back in the 146 range. And of course, for Ontario, as high as $1.57, but down to $1.52, 51. And many gas stations are shedding their retail margins. What it takes for them to operate, they're willing to give away and get their refiners or the suppliers to drop another 3 cents. So I'm seeing some as low as $1.40, some as high as $1.51, but that's really the price range. And there is no change in the markets. It has a lot to do with what I call gas bar shenanigans. That's where gas stations, start high in the morning and then drop it as much as 8 or 9 cents a liter throughout the day. I guess that they make it up both in terms of the cost of premium gasoline, as well as beef jerky and coffee and whatever you're buying in store. That's really how they make up their money these days. These are no longer gas stations. They're really small C or sometimes large C convenience stores. Quebec, usually about 10 cents a liter less than Ontario. So you're looking at about $1.61, $1.62. That's Montreal, Quebec City. And of course, in the Maritimes, they've seen a bit of decrease, not just in terms of gas prices by about 3 cents a liter, but also about 4.5 cents a liter on the diesel side, except for Prince Edward Island. For some reason, the price didn't move there, but regulators decide they want prices to go up or down. They can ignore the markets as they do in Prince Edward Island. So if you're in PEI and you saw no gas price decrease, you're being ripped off. But that's, of course, because people have this sense of security. They need a security blanket when it comes to telling what gas prices should be, rather than the markets where everybody else is enjoying lower prices, except folks out in the Atlantic provinces who tend to get fleeced quite frequently as a result of bureaucrats who've decided that they can create an artificial world of gas prices. I'm not being tongue-in-cheek. I really mean this. The past several years, gas price prediction has been around for a long time. There is really no need for regulated prices in Canada. If you think it gives you a sense of security, well, join the other socialist comedians out there that believe that governments can do much better doing just about everything for us. Nevertheless, speaking of government, we're talking about a new government in Canada, the Mark Carney government. Of course, not elected by the public. We'll look to see if he has the courage to call an election. Good thing is that we'll be seeing a lot more attention given to the damage and the musings that Mark Carney has made around the world, in the United States and Canada, about his belief that the price of energy, especially fossil fuels, is way too low. It should be much higher. To get that, he was good with blocking pipelines, divesting and ensuring financial institutions carried some sustainability creds with them so they wouldn't lend to oil and gas. And that, of course, costs you and I a lot more in terms of gasoline. By the way, I hear rumors that he wants to get rid of the gas tax and carbon tax on the consumer side. Well, that means, apart from the nonsense about rebates, which is always less than what you pay for, considering that it cascades through the economy, he's suggesting somehow that he can apply it to business and to polluters. By the way, CO2 is not a pollution. Anybody who believes that is either a faux scientist or just a really a false prophet. But that aside, we know where Mark Carney stands. We know what he's done in the past. His record has to come out. And of course, if he does decide to get rid of the carbon tax, that'll mean about a 20 cent a liter decrease for gasoline, and it would mean about a 24 cent a liter decrease for diesel. I don't think it's going to happen. They're going to apply it to refiners. And like we're seeing with the clean fuel standard, the second carbon tax, which no one talks about, it's already costing 20 cents a liter in British Columbia. It's costing about 7 or 8 cents a liter for diesel from Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, Ontario, Quebec, and the Maritimes. And a lot of people don't know that, but that's about 5 cents a liter on average for the rest of the country on gasoline. And it's about to go to 20 cents a liter. So 2030 isn't far around the road, down the road. As I said, it's the middle part of April. Two things are going to happen on April 1st. We're likely to see that 4 cent increase in the carbon taxes, which you voted for in 2021 and 2019. And of course, we're going to see the same increase on April 15th, which is switch over from winter to summer gasoline. So we're 4 weeks summer to winter gasoline, I should say, which is about 4 weeks away. That's about a 5 or 6 cent increase. That's because it costs more to produce the summer blend that is resistant to evaporation and creating all sorts of true environmental damage, not the climate nonsense that they keep talking about. We've been doing this about 40 years. So that tends to mean that the price of gasoline, no matter what, will be up over 10 cents a liter. Of course, we have to know that tariffs are also another factor. And that as long as there's this volatility about whether or not there's going to be tariffs in Canada, United States, around the world, seems President Trump does what he did in 2016 to 2019, which is to threaten certain things, and that causes markets to go up and down. Sooner or later, they're going to stop paying attention because, frankly, it's a little bit like the boy cried wolf. Tariffs one day, off the next, on the next, off the next. We can't continue to live this way. Regardless of the politics of it all, the reality is it's making it very, very comfortable for markets to drop prices. And that's probably a good thing for consumers in the short term. We'll see if sooner or later we have a government that actually eliminates net zero policies, not just carbon taxes, because carbon taxes is the low hanging fruit. If that happens, then I think we're looking at substantial decreases in the price of gasoline as on an average of about 20 cents a liter. And you know what? If Teresa, if we didn't have a weak Canadian dollar, in other words, a dollar because we don't sell enough oil and gas to the rest of the world's not interested in investing in Canada, you'd save another 26 cents a liter. That's what 144 pennies to buy $1 in terms of our currency exchange does. It adds the cost of everything. In the case of gasoline, it's very quantifiable. It's 26 cents a liter. So imagine if we had a government that was a little bit more closer to reality, didn't take the position of there's no business case, wasn't involved in climate kookery, where you basically go around trying to block the very resources the country needs and could sell to the world. Gas would be about 45, 50 cents a liter. So that's what this is all about. Canadians can choose to have the old game of higher prices, or they can choose a new path with a new government that says no to net zero. And that's hopefully what we're going to be looking for in the next month or so with the federal election that's just around the corner.